away we go. Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on Talk 910. You know our show. It's where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And for those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. A few guys sitting around a bar having drinks without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I know, Mark, you're sad that we don't have the drinks.
I was trying to hiccup there and for effect, but I missed it.
Oops, sorry about that. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Rick Warder of Keller Williams Realty. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. Vacations are free. They only request a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. You can reach them at 916-777-5511. Today's trivia theme is early U.S. history, and I want to give a little plug here to our special videographer, Kramer Herzog, whose video, Eye of the Storm, is playing in the International Film Festival in New Jersey, and he's recognized the best of investing in that film. So, of course, we got to plug him for that. Here you go, Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Okay. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And we're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 and AT&T Channel 99 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. Now, today we have an extra special guest, Michael Croix, who is going to tell us why being behind on your credit card payments is a good thing. Michael, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Great, thanks for having me.
Okay.
So that's an interesting headline, why being behind on your credit card payments is a good thing. Can you elaborate on that a bit, Michael?
Sure. So many people are familiar with debt settlement companies. And debt settlement companies, you'll see the ads on TV and radio. They tell you you can save up to 50% or more, right, of the amount of credit card debt that you owe. The reason they're able to promise that is that debt settlement companies basically tell you to, if you haven't already, to stop making your payments to your credit card. Now, if let's say you were a great customer, you had a credit card for 10 years, and you get laid off, or you're having some trouble making your payments. If you call them up and you haven't missed any payments yet, they're going to tell you a sympathetic no, that, sorry, there's nothing we can do. If you miss 1 or 2 payments, they're still not going to cut you a deal because statistically speaking, they know that you'll probably bring your account current and they're going to make some more money, in interest rate hikes and late fees and such. So it's only until you fall behind, say, 3, 4, 5 months that you really get their attention and they're willing to make a deal because, again, they know, statistically speaking, those people that fall behind that far are less likely to catch up or even pay them back at all. So the general rule is the longer you withhold payment, the better settlement you're going to get.
And the more money you keep in your pocket temporarily.
And the more money you'll save, right? And so a lot of people, of course, when they do find themselves in a situation where there's an illness, death in the family, or they get laid off, they are unfortunately having to make some difficult choices. And, you have to keep a roof over your head and feed the kids. And so often credit cards are the last bills that get paid. And if you can't pay them all, you have to kind of play this game where, who am I going to pay? And, with the little money that I do have, or, some people don't even have money to pay them ever. And what I tell people is, look, there's a statute of limitations in every state after which credit card debt is no longer collectible. So not only do, the further you fall behind, the better settlement you're going to get, but eventually, if, they don't sue you and win and enforce the judgment before your statute of limitations expires, that debt, all of that debt might eventually.
Michael, what is the statute of limitations? Is it different state by state?
It does. It varies state by state. Typically, it's between 3 and 6 years. There are a couple states where it's 10.
Well, what's California? Because that's where most of our listeners are.
California, I don't know it off the top of my head. I
I
can
think
look
it's
it up.
4, if I'm not mistaken.
So Michael, this sounds surprisingly similar to how to get your bank to negotiate with you if you're if you're underwater on your home. They won't talk to you about short sales, or a loan modification until you're actually miss a few
Yeah,
payments.
except that my bank asked me for my shoe size because they wanted to find out how big cement they needed. I don't like that bank. Go ahead. So
It's, by the way, guys, it's 4 years in California.
that's what I thought, 4 years. Not that I practice not paying on my credit cards, but go ahead.
So, Michael, Rick Warner here. So you're not advocating not paying credit card. You're saying, hey, if you're somebody who's in this position where you legitimately are in a bind one way or the other, that the more of a bind you're in, the more the later you wait to act, the more beneficial ultimately it's going to be if your ultimate goal is to greatly reduce this overall debt. Is that a fair statement?
That's right. That's right. And the reason, I have that headline is why it's a good thing is I think the hardest part for debt settlement or, getting out of this sort of situation is falling behind. It's very difficult. Most people, they're honest people and they're just bad things happen to good people and they're trying to do their best, right?
So
It's once you fall behind, your credit score takes a hit, you get hounded by debt collectors. And quite honestly, that's the hardest part about this process of debt settlement and debt relief. And if you already find yourself in that situation, I think you've already done the hardest part. Now the rest of it is really just understanding the business of debt collection, and we've been talking a little bit about that. But debt collectors, they're in a business just like any other. And the reason I created my program is I wanted to teach people about the business of debt collection, to know their rights under federal law. Most people don't know their rights, and to empower them with information.
Well, Michael, I wanted to ask you, because you had a statement on here about why very few debt collectors will ever take legal action against you, even if they threaten to. Why is that?
Right. Well, again, it goes back to the business of debt collection, right? So debt collectors can report negatives to your credit report, obviously. They can call, they write, and they can sue, okay? Reporting negatives, calling, and writing are relatively inexpensive and work on the vast majority of the population, right? But unless they sue you and win and enforce the judgment, there's very little they can do.
Yeah, and if I understand it correctly, if you pay, in order to toll the statute, if you have any correspondence with them or make a payment, then that extends the statute. Is that correct?
That's right. It resets the statute of limitations. So if you've fallen behind on your debt, I think it's best to simply save as much money as you can. Reach out to all your creditors and say, hey, I'm in a financial situation. I can't pay everybody back, but I have X amount of money, and I want to settle with whoever I can. So it puts them in a position where they're almost competing for your settlement. But I want to finish the point about why they don't sue. I mean, you can imagine, as a group, people who default on their credit card debt don't have a lot of assets to go after, right? So very few, and in my experience, and in others, my other colleagues, we see somewhere between 10 and 20% of accounts receiving lawsuits if you were just to stop paying it.
And probably the larger ones, right? I mean, if somebody owes $20 to it, they're not going to probably sue that.
No, you would think so, but you haven't seen any relationship between the amount of debt and your likelihood to get sued. Where you live actually will affect that, and certain creditors are more likely to sue than others. But in general, and that's in my book as well. But in general, let's say you had 10 accounts, you can expect a lawsuit on 1 to 2 of them if you simply stop paying on all 10. And those that sue, they're looking for a quick default judgment or a quick summary judgment. So a default judgment is, let's say you got sued, you bury your head in the sand, you didn't do anything. That creditor, the court will rule in the creditor's favor because up until the time that you're sued, your debt is considered an alleged debt in the eyes of the law. If they sue you and you don't defend yourself, then the court assumes it's a valid debt, and then of course you have a judgment against you, and with that judgment in hand, the creditor can, garnish wages, take money out of your bank account, and put liens on property. But we don't see that happening. Well, we don't see liens on property happening. What they're looking for is cash now, right? So they're going to try to find where you bank and, put a risk garnishment on your cash.
Michael?
They're going to try to garnish wages.
So we don't have a whole lot of time, but do we have time for one more quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, another thing that you talk about is, the debt collectors trampling on people's rights. Can you quickly give us, top 2 or 3, rights that people have that they should know, that they should be aware of?
Sure, absolutely. So within 30 days of initially within 5 days of initially contacting you, they have to tell you that you have the right to dispute the debt. And I recommend that everybody do this simply because I can contact you and say you owe me money, and then I'm Discover Bank, but just because I say so doesn't make it true. They should have to verify and validate the debt, and unless and until they can, all collection activities have to stop, and all reporting activities to the credit bureaus have to stop. So that's the first thing people should do. The second thing they can do is they can send a simple letter asking them to not call, and it doesn't have to be anything other than that. They just have to send a certified mail return receipt, and if they continue to call, they just violated your rights. Now, if you want to go violation fishing and really understand your rights and try to actually get them to violate those rights, you can actually go on the offensive if those rights are violated. So they can't do things like call before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. They can't call friends, family, and state the purpose of their call. They can't call several times a day. They can't harass, intimidate you. It's just a laundry list of things that they can't do. So if they do violate your rights, you can there's a nationwide network of attorneys who will basically sue on your behalf to get them to either back down or even zero out the account. So,
okay, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. And how you wrote a book on this, right?
Right.
Okay, so if people were interested in the book, how would they get a hold of you?
Right, so it's available on any online bookseller, so Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever. It's both digital and print. It's called The Debt Clear Roadmap, and we guarantee over 80% reduction in credit card debt if people follow the program from start to finish. But of course, you can get any degree of debt relief that you want. I not only teach people about debt relief, but about credit repair, asset protection, and fighting creditor harassment and lawsuits.
Cool. Great.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining
Michael.
us in studio here.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks.
All right.
Okay, guys.
Well, that was kind of interesting.
It was.
Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break, running just a little bit late here. The theme is early U.S. history. After the Revolution, which war with England broke out in the early 1800s? So those rascals didn't learn their lesson. They decided to fight us again. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. After the Revolution, which war with England broke out in the early 1800s? 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time, and we'll be right back. Okay, well, that's a long one.
Yeah.
Away we go. You ready?
No.
Oh, almost caught you off guard there.
What are you doing over there?
Yeah, supposed to be always ready there. Okay, just teasing. We like to tease them. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Rick Warner of Keller Williams Realty, the smartest man in real estate.
I like that.
That's what he told me. No,
Did you just make that
I
up?
would never say that.
I know,
I do call myself the real estate expert, though.
You are
I'll
pretty
take
smart,
that.
I gotta say that. Okay, here's the first trivia question. After the Revolution, which war with England broke out in the early 1800s? Gentlemen,
Was it that war they called the War of 1812?
that's exactly what it was.
When the hell was that war anyway?
Yeah, it's like who's buried in Grant's tomb. Okay. Let's see. Rick, we have an
We are
email.
the king of poor jokes on this radio show.
Oh
Good
my
thing it's
gosh.
not a comedy show.
That's right. We wouldn't get any listeners.
Seinfeld, we're not.
That's right. But we do have Kramer.
we
Yes.
do have Kramer.
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
the award-winning
That's right.
Kramer.
That's
There you
right.
go.
Big time.
All right, Rick, here's an email we received from you. What is the fastest growing segment in real estate right now? Is it still the $300,000 to $500,000 range? Of course, he's assuming, this listener, that that's what the range is.
Right, and I assume too by the question that he's talking about when he says fastest growing, is that maybe a better question is that where the most demand is? I don't know. I assume.
Probably that's what he's asking.
And I think that it kind of depends regionally where you are, but there, if you kind of take that first time home buyer market, whatever house that looks like, the 3-2, 14 to 1,600 square foot, smaller yard, maybe not too fancy or whatever, wherever that is, that price range, that is the hottest segment because you have three different consumers going after the same product, right? You've got first time home buyers, you've got investors, and then you've got what we call right sizers.
So it's maybe not so much the 300 to 500 range, but it's more the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600
Yeah,
square foot
for
range.
example, if you're in Mill Valley, that house is $800,000,
Okay.
right? And if you're in San Francisco, it's over $1 million.
And if you're in Barstow, they give it to you for free.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're in Louisiana, it's $11.
Yeah.
11 to $13.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes they go way over asking at $14 or $15. Those are competing. It's pretty tough down there.
It's kind of scary. Actually,
Yeah.
in Detroit, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, they're giving houses away. Yeah, buy one get three one. Get free,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of thing.
And you have to pay the real estate taxes up to $20.
So, but yeah, and so until inventory changes and interest rates change, that will continue to be the case.
Okay, yeah. So I can see your first-time home buyer, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Maybe a child, maybe a little home office.
Yep.
Sweet. I get it.
Yeah. And then don't forget about the right sizer because that's the people that people always forget they're competing with. It's that person that they've raised the kids. Remember, we have baby boomers, right?
Yes.
Now they've raised the kids. They're out.
Hopefully,
Hopefully, in fact, they want to right size so that their kids don't come back.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
I'm
you know
serious.
What? I
Yeah.
do believe you because
It does happen.
Yeah, it's hey, we're
They
moving
want
into
to
such an
reduce
sorry,
their
there's no room for
expenses,
you.
right? They're
No
now-
room for mom to move in.
Yeah,
Right.
the
They
elderly
wanna-
mom,
yeah,
not just the
they're
child.
a fairly selfish.
mother-in-law.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, they want to reduce their expenses. They're getting on their pensions now and their fixed income and whatnot. Take their assets off the table. They sell their big house that's maybe $700,000-800,000 or whatever it is in their particular neighborhood, and then buy the smaller house. And so that is a big competing market. So you've got three. It's the only segment that has that. That going for it,
Well,
which is the three
they should
buyers.
do what I
and
did, which is I have an extra dog house in the back and just say, hey, Mom, you can kind of share it with the dog. She didn't like that, I'll tell you.
I don't think.
Actually,
No more humor for you.
So, Rick, you're a realtor. You got your nose to the grindstone in the Bay Area real estate market. What do you think is driving real estate prices right now? I know there's a lot of debate about this big increase we've seen in the last 12 months. What do you think?
Well, I think the buildup is it has been. It's been February of 2012 was kind of when it started to grind, and if you can go back and look at that's when inventory really dropped. So in other words, we had great interest rates already, and that was fueling certainly a lot of it. But then when all of the lot of the distressed property started to go away, all of a sudden, man, you had nothing. And then you had all these people that had been sitting on the sidelines, kind of waiting. Oh, it might go down more and so forth. They start seeing things go up. What happens? It creates this kind of frenzy, right? The scarcity and so forth. And then if you add to that here lately, where interest rates are starting to go up, so now you've got no inventory. Interest rates are starting to go up. That's freaking people out. Holy mackerel! I missed my opportunity. Bada bing, bada boom. Everybody's got to get in as soon as possible, and that's where the craziness comes from.
Well, I came across an article this week that I just thought was interesting, and I completely disagree with it. It was from First Tuesday, which is an educational resource in California that you would think would be a mouthpiece for the real estate industry, but in fact they conducted a poll where they wanted to collect votes on who do you believe will be the most influential in real estate in 2013, and some of the choices were lenders, buyers, sellers, and then another choice was investors and speculators. And interestingly enough, 25%, which was the majority, voted that speculators and investors would drive real estate in 2013. And so, based on that poll, they wrote an article. Someone wrote an article in First Tuesday that recently posted that basically was blaming speculators and investors
It's all their fault.
for the bubble that we're in, and so they're saying the media is widely reporting that what the media is widely reporting as a powerful real estate recovery is in fact a mini bubble fueled by speculator frenzy, and I just think that that's just nuts.
You're shaking your
Quite
head now.
frankly.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, not that there isn't speculation. Of course there is, but when you had, say, like what was going on with oil and oil speculation, that was, you could pretty much quantify how that happened, right? But with real estate, I'm not seeing that on the ground at all. Yes, we have investors buying properties. However, the vast majority of the consumers out there are the consumer, the actual end consumer. So I don't agree with that.
I agree too. I mean, in here they make a statement. This points to one thing: the past 12-month run-up in sales prices is not due to end-user demand, but in fact from speculators. So, but I don't see that at all. In fact, my observation is that there's still too much of a segment of the property owners that are underwater. I mean, it's a result. It's a hangover of the prior bubble and the.
So in other words, they can't sell because they
can't
don't
sell.
Right.
There's too many. There's still pent up. There's pent up demand to sell, but they're waiting for prices to get higher.
They have to get higher because otherwise they literally, there's no reason for them to sell because where are they going to go?
And then let's not forget that have a lot of homes been built in the last 5 years?
No.
And we still have generally a net increase in population, and you've got growth in households, and so you've just got, like I see, a pent up demand from the end user. So in fact, I just think that's it's interesting. What it really says to me is nobody really knows what's driving.
Well, it's funny. It's funny the categories that they don't have on here.
Yeah.
They don't have interest rates, and they don't have demand. They don't have inventory.
Well, those have nothing to do with it.
I mean, seriously, that is what's influencing everything. You can take everybody out of this category. Interest rates go up, or inventory goes up, then the market slows down. That's it. It's supply and demand. This is not rocket science.
That's true.
Thank God, because I'm not a rocket scientist.
Okay, guys, we're going to cut to our second commercial break. Here is the trivia question. Again, the theme is early U.S. history. Which nation lent its support to the colonists, which helped turn the tide in their favor? This is, again, the Revolutionary War we're talking about. The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day to United States Lighthouse Resort. Check them out. The weather is fantastic. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. During the Revolutionary War, which nation lent its support to the colonists, which helped turn the tide in their favor against Britain, right? Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, email address, and speak slowly and spell out your email letter for us one letter at a time. And don't touch that dial because the best of investing will be right back.
So I didn't get to do my little.
Oh, shoot. Okay, we come back.
Who
Who you are. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Just for you.
Let him go.
Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt and Rick Warner. When we come to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. During the Revolutionary War, which nation lent its support to the colonists, which helped turn the tide in their favor against England? Anyone?
History question.
Yes.
Next.
Right. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it, Mark. Anyone?
That's funny because it does remind me of the segment that we had a few weeks ago where the lady was saying, "Don't go to college."
That's true.
Right? And then of course,
who cares about all those dead people anyway?
Yeah, that doesn't really
Yeah, but
matter.
then see, you don't win trivia contests if you don't
Right.
study
Was
history.
it France?
Yes, France. Do you remember
There
the
you
movie The Patriot?
No.
No, with
I just
Mel
want to
Gibson?
finish on that thought though. So
Yeah.
a few weeks ago we have the lady that says don't go to college,
Yeah.
and then today we have the guy that says don't pay your credit card.
Yeah.
What are we trying to promote here?
the moral
Anarchy.
decay.
Yeah,
Yes, the moral
exactly.
decay of the United States.
We wonder why everything's gone to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah. Yeah, you really. Now, Rick, after we cut out, we realized that the audience is saying, "Who is this brilliant guy who was talking about real
Or
estate?"
more importantly, how do we get a hold of him?
Or more importantly, how do we get a hold of him?
So, Rick Warner, Keller Williams Realty. The best way to get a hold of me is always on my cell phone, 415-302-6348. You can text that number as well. If you want to send me an email, rick.warner@sbcglobal.net. And love to have you click on my fan page on Facebook, Rick Warner, Real Estate Broker. Closing in on 1,000 fans. Love to have you be that.
What happens when you hit 1,000?
Lots of, I think
Nothing.
there's balloons. I think there's balloons that fall out of my ceiling. My wife is rigged.
Balloon.
That,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's
so that'll be an
perfect.
exciting time.
Okay.
Good for you, Rick. All right.
I have 3 fans, and 2 of them are me. Okay. Mark, see, you're laughing. Someone laughed.
No, you got
That was fun. I got it. Got it.
6 months in, you got to get
Well, you're going to love my thoughts for today, too. Okay. Mark, we have an email we received for you. It says, I'm thinking of investing with you, but I wonder, in comparison to other investments, how safe is an investment in a deed trust?
Very good question. How safe is investing in a deed of trust? So just a little bit of background. I'm Mark Hanf. I'm president of Pacific Private Money Loans. We are a Bay Area private money lender, also known as a hard money lender. We make loans mostly to real estate investors. Our business model is we kind of fill the niche that, or fill the void, rather, that the banks created when they left that lending market. Banks since 2008 have largely left the market of lending to real estate investors. They can concentrate on making consumer home loans now. So even if you have good credit and money and you want to buy investment property, particularly if you want to fix and flip property, you go to your bank for a loan, and they once they pick themselves off the floor and stop laughing, they politely tell you not this week. So and probably not next week, and probably not next year, and probably not for the next 5 years. So the private lending business has really stepped in, and it's we call ourselves private money lenders as opposed to hard money lenders these days, because it's really not the same business model. 10 years ago, you went to a hard money lender. Usually, it was you needed a second on your house, you were in distress. Loans were really made. They were distressed borrowers, oftentimes distressed property as well. Nowadays, it's just completely different. I make very few loans to distressed borrowers. We make loans on real estate that may be distressed in terms of it may be in need of remodeling. So there's a lot of property turning over today that hasn't been remodeled in a long time. And so
sometimes just speed. That's the reason why people.
Or speed. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people use private money now. But again, the biggest one being that banks are not an alternative. So if you have money and you want to leverage up and you want to buy Bay Area real estate, which is not cheap, you oftentimes now as an investor will turn to a private money lender. And so now we're getting back to the question, how safe is an investment in trust deed? So our loans that we make to real estate investors secured by Bay Area real estate, those loans are funded by private individuals. We use private individual capital to fund our loans. And so we've collected over the years actually several hundred Bay Area individuals, about close to 150 of whom have invested at least once in one of our loan products. And so now when we make a loan, unlike a bank, we're not making 80% financing, and we don't do seconds for 100% of acquisition price. I mean, we don't 100% financing. Not with regardless of what some real estate courses still tell you today, 100% financing is not the norm. In fact, it's highly unusual.
That would be too risky.
Right, and we're not doing that. So we generally make 70% loans, so 70% of the purchase price, not what the buyer thinks it might be worth after they remodel it. We make loans generally based on the purchase price. So when you're talking 70% of, say, a $500,000 loan, that means that the buyer's still coming in with $150,000 cash to close. I mean, that's real skin in the game. That's real protective equity, what we refer to it in our business.
So you can still have a decline in the real estate
Right.
and do okay. In fact, for the listening audience out there, if you wanted to hear more about, learn more about the safety and comparison, if you go on to thebestofinvesting.com and look under articles, I wrote an article some years back that got published that actually compares rates of return and the risk factors involved with investing in deeds of trust compared to treasury bills and stocks and bonds, etc. So that might be a good tool. For
So let's
people to
compare it a little bit. So you buy stock. Let's say you buy Apple, or Google or Microsoft or whatever. What you own is basically shares of that company. It's not really, there's not a hard security against it. And what I mean by that is it could go down in value, and oftentimes does. And if you bought Apple at the height, and right now you're sitting on a loss. So so really stock is a promise to buy. Now it is liquid. Now you can turn around and sell it very quickly.
If it's something like Microsoft, not some penny stock.
Right, exactly. So investing in a deed of trust, it is not considered a liquid investment. So if you're looking for a place to park your money for a high yield, but then you want to be able to get it out quickly, that is not a place for you. And there really isn't a place for you other than a money market account, which, as we know, pays next to nothing. So liquidity, you can't be. It's hard to be liquid and make a nice yield on your savings at the same time. What we offer in deeds of trust is for those people who are looking for alternative investments, and we're not talking super long term, and we're talking 12 to 24 months. These are not, they may not be liquid, but these are loans that generally are intended to be paid off pretty quickly. So what kind of security do you have? If you fund a 70% purchase loan on a property in the Bay Area, you get a lender's title policy insuring your first position lien. You get hazard insurance with your name on it in case the place burns down. You are paid first up to your loan amount. And then we've got the protective equity in the property itself. So if real estate values decline and something happens and you need to foreclose on the property, there's still a very good likelihood that you're going to get all of your money back. So,
well, I think it's kind of interesting. You mentioned about like buying Microsoft or Apple, and in theory, as compared to a deed of trust, if a deed of trust, if you don't get paid, you're going to foreclose. Potentially, you can actually make a lot more money. That doesn't really happen if you buy Microsoft and it goes down in value.
Right, you don't have that kind of recourse.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so there are opportunities, and that's not to say that people haven't lost money in deeds of trust. They certainly did when the market turned in 07 and 08, but we're talking about if you believe like we do that real estate has corrected, it is beginning to go back up in value again, although some have been, some people seem to think we're in a mini bubble. I don't think we are, particularly since real estate prices still in many markets have not returned to the replacement cost. Because
that's a very important part.
So that's a very important part. That in many markets, this real estate is still selling below replacement cost. So we've got pretty much a thriving real estate market right now. And
well, wait, one quick thing when you mentioned about the replacement, that will curtail new construction because developers are not going to build if they can't sell for at least what they can.
And so the market's correcting itself. The prices, almost by definition, will continue to increase in all markets until it at least is equal to replacement cost. Because until then, no more, new building is going to be low, if any. Contractors aren't going to build new homes and lose money on them. So really, I always thought that the real estate market would snap back initially, maybe 20-25%, like we're seeing now in the last 12 months, largely because of that kind of the rubber band effect of going from below replacement cost to at least meeting replacement cost. Now, what's it going to do after that remains to be seen. So I do think that all this talk about a bubble is a little bit premature, and of course, it's just good media.
Okay. Thank you very much. And how do people get a hold of you if they want more information on deeds of trust?
They can call our office. We're in the Bay Area. Our phone number is 415-883-2150. That's 415-883-2150. And our website is pacificprivatemoney.com.
And last week we had a special trivia contest. What was the highest priority that women don't tell their mates? And the answer was the number of shoes they own. And that was for the Ritz-Carlton Laguna Niguel, which celebrates its 15-year partnership with the Pageant of the Masters and Festival of Arts for the summer of 2013. Call the Ritz-Carlton Laguna Niguel at 800-241-3333 and ask about the Behind the Velvet Rope experience, which includes accommodations, preferred seating, and backstage tour of the Pageant of Masters. That's 800-241-3333, or go to ritzcarlton.com/Laguna Pageant. I don't know if you've ever visited there, but it is a very fancy, beautiful hotel.
Sounds killer.
Okay, we are going to cut to our final trivia question here. Although only 5 people died in the After only 5 people died when British soldiers fired upon a crowd in this 1770 event, this major event's name sounded much worse. What was the name given to this event? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Although only 5 people died when the British soldiers fired upon a crowd in this 1770 event, this major event's name sounded much worse. What was the name given to this event? Make sure to include your name, your email address, speak slowly, spell out your email letter one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial because the Best of Investing is going to be coming right back with our answers. Okay. Figure out how much time we got.
Yep.
That mask was
The way again.
Sure.
And then people who have self-directed IRAs, a lot of people are.
Let's go. Yeah, the self-directed thing.
Yes,
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn from Pacific Private Money and Rick Warner of Keller Williams Realty. When we cut to the third commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Although only 5 people died when British soldiers fired upon a crowd in this 1770 event, this major event's name sounded much worse. What was the name given to this event?
Was that the so-called Boston Massacre?
That was the Boston Massacre. See, you told me you didn't know much about history. You are the history buff.
I have a few brain cells that are still alive and
Still
kicking.
active. Okay. Now, Mark, off break, we were talking about special kind of loans that you can make.
Yeah, well, one of our sponsors is IRA Services, located here in the Bay Area. They specialize in self-directed IRAs for those of us with retirement accounts. I hope that's all of us and you listening out there. But for those of you who are interested in self-directed IRAs, generally the way they work is you have a company, and this would not be like Merrill Lynch or Schwab or your bank. They have you can have IRAs and 401k accounts with them, but they normally limit you to purchasing like securities, stocks, bonds, and what's called traditional investments within those retirement accounts. But if you want to loan your money out, do trustee investing, or even buy real estate, you normally have to have you can only do that in a self-directed IRA. And there are special companies out there called IRA custodians that are set up specifically, and they're regulated.
And I like to give a little plug to IRA Services Trust
Well, they're
Company.
one of the best
They're
in the
one of
Bay
the best,
Area.
and they're the least expensive
That's
that I found.
one of the reasons why a lot of people
I
like them.
Yeah, easy to work with. Too.
And so we've been actually getting a lot of demand lately and questions about, hey, can you make a loan to my IRA if I'm buying, fixing, and flipping property within that IRA? And the question is actually a little bit more complex than it sounds. It's just, well, why couldn't you? Well, if you're buying real estate in your IRA and you want to use leverage, there are certain rules about the types of loans that you can make or can be made on an asset that's held in an IRA. So anyway, at Pacific Private Money, we can make loans to your IRA. So if your IRA is buying, fixing, and flipping, and you've got cash, but you need a little bit more cash, you want to leverage, and of course, leverage helps boost the yields that you make on a real estate investment. So there are resources for that. That's not a common resource. If you made 20 phone calls, you might get 19 and a half no's before you found someone who actually.
What's half a no? A maybe.
So,
okay.
So anyway, so that is an option. So again, if you have a self-directed IRA and hopefully if you have a self-directed IRA, you are investing in alternative asset classes for higher yields, like trust deeds or mortgage pool funds, or even buying and flipping real estate. So again, check that out. And then the other product that's kind of new in the last 12 months, it's not new in terms of being able to make the loan, but it's new in terms of demand. And that is homeowners using a hard money bridge loan, or home buyers, I should say. You're looking to buy a home for yourself, a consumer, a primary residence. I'm sorry, and you have your bank financeable, but the problem is you're losing out to cash buyers. You go make an offer and you lose out to a guy who's going to close in 2 weeks, but you can't close in 2 weeks because you intend to use a bank loan. Well, this is not an inexpensive alternative, but if you really, really, really want that house and you want to make your strongest offer for a quick close, you can essentially make a no loan contingency fast close offer, and use a hard money loan to close, and then conventionally refi out within
So basically,
a
the
couple of
people would
months.
help buy their house using the money that you would lend them. So at
Yes.
least buy the house, and then eventually they refinance out with a conventional lender. But
Right.
at least they get the house
So that right,
quickly.
the downside is you pay points, a couple of points on it, but the upside is you get the house.
Good.
Yeah.
And again, for people who are listening to the show specifically, who were listening recently.
How do you find me?
How do you find you?
Let me help
Good.
you.
Go ahead.
It's pacificprivatemoney.com or call us 415-883-2150.
And also, IRA Services Trust Company is in San Carlos. Check them out. Tell them you heard it from the Best of Investing. Here's our thoughts for the day. America's first nudist organization was founded in 1929 by 3 men. Yeah, that's what I want to belong to. Okay. And Charles Lindbergh took only 4 sandwiches with him on his famous transatlantic flight. Now, I don't know how he did it because I need more than that just going from SFO to LAX. Okay, tune in next week to the Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. And on behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long.
God, those back-to-back shows are sometimes a little bit exhausting.
Yeah.